My name is Olivia Anderson. I am 28 years old, and I live in a quiet high-rise condo overlooking the Seattle skyline. My phone buzzed on the glass desk. It was a message from the family group chat. I picked it up, expecting a dinner plan or a request to bring drinks. Instead, I saw a text from my younger brother, Gage. "Don't come to the barbecue," he wrote. "My wife says you stink up the whole party." I stared at the message. Before I could process it, another notification appeared. My mother reacted with a laughing emoji. Then my father added a heart. They weren't defending me. They were joining in. I didn't cry. I didn't type a long, angry response asking why they treated me like this. I simply replied with 2 words, "Got it." I set my phone down and picked up my pen. In front of me was a stack of documents for Nexura Labs, where I work as the Executive VP of Engineering. I was about to approve a $1 billion contract. My family thought I was a joke. They believed I was a failure. But as I signed my name, I made a quiet promise to myself. No more begging for their approval. No more explanations. They wanted me gone. Fine. I would let them discover exactly who they had pushed away, and they would learn the hard way. But before I explain how everything changed, like and subscribe, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. My name is Olivia Anderson. I am 28 years old. I sat in my office chair for a long time after reading that message. My phone screen had gone dark, but the words stayed in my mind. Don't come to the barbecue. It wasn't just the message that hurt. It was the history behind it. The 28 years of being the joke in the Anderson family. To understand why I simply replied, "Got it," and returned to work, you need to understand where I came from. I grew up in a house where being loud was good, being athletic was better, and being smart was considered strange. My brother Gage was the golden child. He was 2 years younger than me. With an easy smile, he played football and could charm anyone. My parents adored him. When Gage got a C, my mother would say, "The teacher just doesn't understand his energy." When he got caught drinking behind the bleachers, my father laughed and said, "Boys will be boys." Then there was me. I was quiet. I loved books. I liked taking radios apart to understand how they worked. When I won the state science fair in 11th grade, I came home excited, holding a large blue ribbon. My mother was in the kitchen cooking Gage's favorite pasta because he had injured his ankle at practice. "Look, Mom," I said, holding up the ribbon. She glanced at it briefly. "That's nice, honey. Don't put it on the fridge. I don't want the magnets scratching the surface. Also, can you go to the store? Gage needs ice." That was my life. I was background noise. I was useful when something needed fixing or an errand had to be done, but embarrassing when I tried to be myself. They never understood what I did. To them, science was boring, something for nerds. Even now, as Executive VP at Nexura Labs, they didn't understand my role. They imagined me working in a lab, washing equipment, or handling basic tasks. They had no idea I managed 200 engineers and controlled a budget large enough to buy our entire hometown multiple times. I never corrected them. Why? Because I was afraid. I thought if they knew I had money, they would only value me for it. I wanted them to love me for who I was. But my biggest secret wasn't my job. It was the house. 3 years ago, Gage came to me in tears. He had dropped out of college again and needed a place to live. My parents couldn't afford to help him. I couldn't ignore him. Even though he teased me, even though he ignored me around his friends, he was still my brother. So I made a decision, one based on emotion. I bought a 3-bedroom house on Elm Street. It was a beautiful property with a large backyard and a modern kitchen. I purchased it under an LLC so my name wouldn't appear publicly. I told Gage, "I know a landlord looking for someone to maintain a property. If you cover utilities and take care of the place, he won't charge rent for a few years." Gage hugged me. "You're a lifesaver, Liv, even if you're a nerd." I ignored the insult because he was happy. For 3 years, I paid everything: taxes, insurance, repairs. When the roof leaked, I fixed it. When plumbing issues came up, I handled them. I was his landlord, his support system, the reason he had a home. And now, he was uninviting me from a barbecue in that same backyard. He was telling me I stink up the party while standing on property I paid for. I walked to the floor-to-ceiling window in my office. Seattle stretched out below me, gray, rainy, and alive. I looked at my reflection. A woman in a tailored navy suit stared back. Professional, composed, powerful. But inside, I still felt like that girl holding a blue ribbon, waiting for someone to say, "Good job." Then I thought about Tegan. Gage had married her 6 months ago. I had only met her a few times. She was loud, image-focused, and quick to judge. From the start, she made comments about my clothes and my job. At Thanksgiving, she said, "It must be hard working with chemicals all day. Does the smell ever go away?" I calmly replied, "It's not that kind of lab." She scoffed. "Gage says you're basically a glorified cleaner." My parents laughed. My father even said, "It's honest work, Liv." I wasn't ashamed. I was frustrated by their ignorance. Now, Tegan had decided I wasn't even welcome at a casual family event. My phone buzzed again. It was a message from my father. "Don't be upset with your brother. Tegan is just particular. Maybe you can send a gift card for the food to show goodwill." They excluded me and still expected me to contribute. Something inside me shifted. Not loudly, but decisively. "No," I said quietly. I didn't respond. I locked my phone away. I had a meeting in 10 minutes with the board. I needed to focus. I was done playing the victim. If they wanted a stranger, I would show them one. I sat down, opened my laptop, and prepared for the meeting. But in the back of my mind, a decision had already begun forming. The free ride was over. Saturday mornings at Nexura Bowl Labs were my favorite. The building was quiet, almost empty, filled only with the hum of servers and a few staff members. It was the perfect time to think. I sat in my office on the 40th floor, reviewing specifications for a new prosthetic limb project. It required precision and focus. Then the intercom beeped. "Miss Anderson," Sarah, my assistant, said nervously. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but there are 2 people here asking to see someone in charge of finances." "Who are they?" "They said they're family, Gage Anderson and his wife." I paused. He had never visited my office before. "Send them up," I said calmly. Moments later, the elevator doors opened. Tegan walked out first, dressed in a bright, attention-grabbing outfit. Gage followed, looking uncomfortable. They looked around, clearly out of place. When they reached my office, Tegan read the nameplate out loud. "Executive Vice President of Engineering, Olivia Anderson." They froze. I opened the doors. "Come in." I remained seated behind my desk, composed. "This is my office," I said. Gage looked stunned. "You work here? Like this office?" "I run this division." They had assumed otherwise. Tegan quickly adjusted her attitude. She placed a folder on my desk. "This is perfect," she said. "Family helps family, right?" I glanced at the folder. G&T Lifestyle Brand Investment Opportunity. "How much?" I asked. $2 million, she replied casually. "We'll give you 5%. I looked at Gage. He avoided eye contact. "Yesterday, you told me not to come to your house," I said. "That was a joke," Tegan dismissed. "Don't be sensitive." I stood up. "No," I said firmly. "I'm not investing. I'm not giving you money. And I'm not family when it's only convenient." Her expression changed instantly. "You're selfish," she snapped. "He's drowning in debt." "That's not my responsibility," I replied. I pressed the intercom. "Security, please come to my office." "You wouldn't dare," she said. "I already have." Gage finally spoke. "Liv, please, just hear us out." I looked at him steadily. "Did you listen to me yesterday?" I asked. He had no answer. 2 uniformed security guards appeared at the door. They were large men, professional and authoritative. "Miss Anderson?" one of them asked. "Please escort these visitors out of the building," I said, sitting back down and picking up my pen. They were just leaving. "Let's go," the guard said, stepping toward Tegan. "Don't touch me," Tegan snapped, clutching her folder. "You're going to regret this, Olivia. You think you're better than us. You're nothing. Just a lonely, miserable woman with a checkbook." "Goodbye, Tegan." "Goodbye, Gage." I didn't look up as they were escorted out. I could hear Tegan shouting all the way down the hallway. Then the elevator chimed and silence returned. My hand trembled slightly as I held the pen. It wasn't fear. It was adrenaline. It was the realization that a boundary had been crossed. They didn't see me as a person. They saw me as an ATM, someone they could insult and still expect money from. I took a deep breath. I thought it was over. I thought I had made my point. I was wrong. It was only the beginning. The silence didn't last long. By the time I got home that evening, my phone was flooded with notifications. Gage had called 6 times. My mother had left 3 voicemails. I played one while pouring a glass of wine in my kitchen. "Olivia, it's Mom. Gage called me. He's upset. He said, you threw them out of your office and embarrassed Tegan in front of your staff. How could you?" They went to you for help. We raised you to support each other. Call your brother and apologize immediately." Apologize? I let out a dry, humorless laugh and deleted the message. I sat on my sofa trying to relax. My condo was quiet, modern, minimal, and fully mine. I didn't owe anyone anything. Then my phone buzzed again, but this time it was different. It was an alert from my bank, Wells Fargo. New credit inquiry. I frowned. I hadn't applied for any credit. I opened the app, another alert appeared. A loan application for $480,000 has been submitted in your name. My heart skipped. I tapped for details. It was a small business loan application. The co-signer listed was Gage Anderson. The primary applicant was me. They hadn't just asked for money, they were trying to take it. I scrolled through the application. It had been submitted about an hour earlier. They used my old home address, my parents' house, and my social security number. How did they get it? Then I remembered. Years ago, while helping my parents refinance their mortgage, I had left tax documents in their file cabinet. Gage must have taken them. A wave of nausea hit me. This wasn't just a family issue anymore. This was a crime. I called my private banker, Mark. Even though it was Saturday night, he handled high net worth clients. He answered on the second ring. "Olivia, is everything okay?" "Mark, listen carefully. I just received a fraud alert. Someone is applying for a loan in my name." "I see it," he said immediately. "It was flagged because the IP address doesn't match your usual activity. Did you authorize a loan for G&T Global?" "No, absolutely not." "Understood. I'm rejecting it now. The co-signer is Gage Anderson. Is that a relative?" I closed my eyes. "Yes, my brother." There was a brief pause. "Olivia, this is serious. This is identity theft. Do you want to file a police report? If we flag it as fraud, the authorities will be notified." I hesitated. This was my brother. The one I taught to ride a bike. The one I bought a house for. If I filed a report, he could face legal consequences. But then I remembered Tegan's words. "You're just a lonely, miserable woman with a checkbook." I remembered the message telling me not to come to the barbecue. They were trying to damage my credit. They were trying to take nearly $500,000 from me just because I refused to give them money. "Do it," I said. "Flag it. Freeze everything. Lock my credit reports. And Mark, if they try again, notify me immediately." "Understood. I'm sorry you're dealing with this." I ended the call. A cold feeling settled in, but it didn't stop there. 10 minutes later, my phone started vibrating nonstop. The family group chat had exploded. "Gage, you blocked the loan? Are you serious? We were approved. You ruined everything. You're jealous and bitter. You don't want us to succeed. Olivia, please just sign it. Gage says it's only a formality. He'll pay it back." Family supports each other. This is going too far. They were rewriting the situation completely. They were making me the problem for stopping them from taking advantage of me. I didn't respond. Instead, I took screenshots. Every message, every alert, every timestamp. I created a folder on my computer labeled Evidence. My hands were shaking, but I wasn't crying. The sadness was gone. It had been replaced by something else. Clarity. I was an engineer. I solved problems, and now my family had become one. I went to the kitchen and made a sandwich. I ate standing at the sink, staring into the dark living room. I felt alone, but not entirely. As I finished eating, the doorbell rang. I checked the security camera. No one was there, just a small package on the mat. I opened the door. The hallway was empty. On the ground was a thick manila envelope. No postage. It had been delivered by hand. I picked it up and brought it inside. It felt heavy. At the dining table, I turned it over. One word was written on the front in shaky, familiar handwriting. Olivia. I recognized it immediately. It was my father's writing. My hands trembled slightly. He had just been texting me, asking me to help Gage. Why would he send this? I opened the envelope. Inside was a thick stack of papers and a handwritten note on yellow legal paper. Livy, I know you think I ignore things. Maybe I do. Your mother favors him, and I don't challenge her. That makes me weak. I know that, but I'm not blind. When Gage married Tegan, something didn't feel right. She talked about money like an expert, but never seemed to have any. 6 months ago, I withdrew money from my retirement account and hired a private investigator, Miller. I asked him to look into her. I received this report yesterday. I wanted to show Gage, but he won't listen. Your mother won't believe it either. But you're smart. You always were. They're going to destroy each other. Don't let them destroy you too. Please handle this. I can't. Love, Dad. I stared at the note. You're smart. It was the first genuine compliment he had given me in years, and it came privately, hidden behind everything else. He admitted his weakness, but he had also given me something important: information. I set the note aside and picked up the report. It was 42 pages long. I started reading. The first section covered basic background, addresses in Atlanta, Miami, Dallas. She moved frequently. Then came the financial records: 3 bankruptcies in 10 years, 6 civil cases for unpaid debts. But the most important detail was deeper in the file: a previous marriage. Tegan had been married 5 years ago to a man named Maverick Jones in Atlanta. The divorce records were extensive and concerning. She had opened multiple credit cards in his name without his knowledge and maxed them out, over $80,000 in spending on luxury items, travel, and clothing. She had also forged his signature on a car loan. When debt collectors came after him, he lost everything: his home, his business. He lived out of his truck for 6 months. Tegan claimed emotional abuse, left him with the debt, and moved to another state. And now she was repeating the same pattern with Gage. I turned to the section about my brother. Credit cards, $45,000 maxed out. Personal loans, $30,000. Auto loan, $60,000 for a Range Rover, registered to Tegan but financed under Gage's name. Total debt, over $180,000. And that wasn't all. The report showed that Tegan had recently inquired about life insurance policies for Gage. My stomach turned. She was draining him financially. Gage had treated me poorly, but he was clearly being manipulated by someone experienced in deception. And now, they were targeting me. The $480,000 loan application finally made sense. Tegan had exhausted Gage's resources. She needed a new source, and that source was me. I leaned back in my chair. The room felt completely still. My father wanted me to handle this situation because he couldn't. I checked the report date. It was current. Then I looked at the name of the ex-husband, Maverick Jones. His contact information was included. He was working as a mechanic in Atlanta. I picked up my phone and dialed his number. It rang several times before a tired voice answered. Yeah? Is this Maverick Jones? Who's asking? My name is Olivia Anderson. My brother is married to Tegan Brooks. There was a long pause. I'm sorry to hear that, he said finally. My advice? Walk away. I'm not walking away, I replied. I'm going to stop her, but I need your help. Why would I help you? Because she destroyed your life, and I can help you reclaim part of what you lost. There was silence again. I'll fly you to Seattle tomorrow morning, first class. For what? We have a family gathering to attend. A short pause followed, then a low chuckle. What time is the flight? I gave him the details and ended the call. I reviewed the file once more, then looked at the message Gage had sent. Don't come to the barbecue. I was going, and I wasn't going alone. Sunday morning arrived with gray skies and light rain, typical Seattle weather, but I felt focused and determined. I drove to the airport to pick up Maverick. I had never seen him before, but I recognized him immediately. He looked worn down by experience, tall in a faded jacket and work boots, carrying a small bag. His expression showed someone used to disappointment. Olivia? He asked. Maverick. Thank you for coming. You paid for the ticket, he said simply. And you mentioned I'd get to see Tegan react. I couldn't miss that. We spoke briefly during the drive, then stopped at a diner for breakfast. Over coffee, I showed him the report. He reviewed it carefully, nodding. Yes, he said quietly, that's her. She did something similar to me with a boat, took it out in my name, sold it, and left me with the debt. She's doing the same to my brother, I said, and she tried to do it to me. Maverick looked up. So what's the plan? We walk in, I said, and we end it. We drove to Elm Street that afternoon. Gage's truck was in the driveway. Tegan's Range Rover, registered under his name, was parked behind it. The house looked well maintained. I noticed the details I had paid for years ago. I walked to the door with Maverick behind me. I didn't knock, I used my key. Inside, Gage appeared in the hallway holding a beer. He looked exhausted. What are you doing here? He asked. I told you not to come. I'm not here to apologize, I said. I'm here to introduce someone. I stepped aside and Maverick moved forward. Who is this? Gage asked, confused. Before I could respond, Tegan entered the hallway. She stopped immediately when she saw Maverick. Hello, Tegan, he said. Maverick, she replied quietly. Gage looked between them. You know him? I'm her ex-husband, Maverick said, the one she left with significant debt. That's not true, Tegan said quickly. He's lying. I have documentation, Maverick replied calmly, placing papers on the table, bankruptcy filings, reports, and evidence of fraud. Gage hesitated, then picked up the documents. You filed for bankruptcy before we even met? He asked, his voice unsteady. I had setbacks, Tegan said defensively. She's already done this before, Maverick added. Has she maxed out your accounts yet? Gage went pale. She asked me about life insurance last week, he said quietly. The silence was heavy. Tegan tried to redirect the situation. This is all staged. You brought him here because you're jealous. I'm not here for that, I said calmly. I'm here to evict you. I placed a blue folder on the table. What is that? Gage asked. The deed to this house, I said. I own it. Tegan froze. That's not possible. I bought this property 3 years ago under an LLC. I covered all expenses. I allowed you to live here because I wanted to help. Gage stared at me, shocked. You own this? Yes, and given the recent actions, especially attempted fraud, you have 30 days to leave. Tegan reacted immediately, arguing about rights and agreements. There is a lease, I said, and it includes a clause for termination due to illegal activity. Gage sank to the floor, overwhelmed. Tegan continued to argue, but I had said everything necessary. Let's go. We left the house. Outside, he asked, Are you okay? I will be, I replied. The next day, things escalated quickly. By morning, Gage had sent dozens of messages asking me to reconsider. My parents followed with calls and texts, accusing me of causing problems. They didn't ask about the fraud. They didn't ask if I was okay. They only focused on restoring their version of peace. I didn't respond. Instead, I contacted my lawyer. Proceed with the eviction, I said, and file a formal police report regarding the fraudulent loan application. Within days, another attempt was made, this time for a car lease. It failed immediately because I had frozen my credit. Tegan then shifted tactics, posting online accusations and portraying herself as a victim. I didn't respond publicly. I stayed focused on facts and process. Later, my mother came to my office, upset and demanding I reverse my decision. I explained clearly, this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was fraud. She refused to accept it and gave an ultimatum: support them or lose the family. I understand, I said. Then I choose to step away. I returned to work without further discussion. On Memorial Day, I attended the family barbecue at the house, my property. When I arrived, the atmosphere changed immediately. I calmly placed documents on the table: the deed, the eviction notice, the police report, and the investigative findings. I explained each one clearly. The reaction was immediate: shock, confusion, and silence. Gage eventually admitted the financial situation. Tegan attempted to deny everything, but was no longer credible. I'm done, I said simply. Gage asked for another chance, but I declined. You had time, I told him. Now you need to take responsibility. I left without further discussion. The consequences followed. The eviction was completed legally. Authorities later charged Tegan with fraud-related offenses. Gage lost his job due to financial instability and accumulated debt. My parents sold their home to support him and moved into a smaller place. They occasionally blamed me, but I had made my position clear. I sold the Elm Street house and used the profit to start a scholarship fund for girls in STEM, students who reminded me of myself growing up. 6 months later, my life is quiet, but stable. I changed my contact information and created distance from the situation. Sometimes I reflect on whether I was too strict, but then I remember the pattern of behavior and the choices that were made. Family is not defined only by relation. It's defined by respect and accountability. I continue my work as Executive VP. I've also started seeing someone who values what I do and listens with interest. Now I sit on my balcony, looking at the city with a sense of calm, no pressure, no demands, no conflict. Protecting yourself sometimes requires difficult decisions, even when it involves people close to you. It may be uncomfortable, but it leads to stability. If you find yourself constantly giving, constantly explaining, and constantly being taken for granted, consider stepping back. Let others take responsibility for their own choices. Eventually, the truth becomes clear, and by then, you will have already moved forward.